Good morning. I'm Michael Zepeda, and I am your co-celebrant this morning. So good to see all of you here today on this breathing, beautiful Sunday morning. Up. Scroll up. There we go. There we are. Thank you. So I'm here to help lead service here today with our friend Lori King Nelson. It's always a pleasure to have you in the pulpit with us, Lori. Our Sunday service is a shared time of worship for all present as we gather for music, spoken words, and a time of reflection and inspiration as a religious community. Let us come together in a spirit of compassion and respect for ourselves and others attending this service. We especially welcome those of you who are here today visiting for the first time. If you haven't yet done so, please sign in at the visitors table by the front door, where you can be placed on our mailing list to receive the weekly emails and the monthly newsletter. Before we continue on to worship, there are a few announcements. First, mark your calendar for the next Spectrum Chamber Music Society concert here at All People's Church. That's Monday, February the 12th at 7:30. The concert will include a performance by the Van Cliburn award-winning pianist, and be sure to be a highlight of the season. Sherry Husband has requested prayers from her church family. She has fallen and broken a hip and is needing surgery. The complication is that she has such low oxygen levels, they're trying to resolve that issue before they can do the hip surgery. So currently the surgery has been rescheduled for this coming Wednesday, provided they can get her oxygen levels up. So we ask that you all keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Yesterday is also the 79th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. Because it fell on the Sabbath yesterday, it will be celebrated today around the world, and the Dallas Holocaust Museum and Human Rights Museum at 300 North Houston Street will be open today from 10 to 5. Additionally, the Soul Matters topic for next month is the Gifts of Justice and Equity. So packets with the discussion topics and the exercises are available in the foyer, and you can check with Lori McKitka if you have some questions about that. I think that's it for announcements. Now, comfortably, please settle in for our musical prelude from Misha.
Isn't music an incredible and indispensable part of the experience of being a Unitarian Universalist? I mean, we know that we've experienced that across all of the faith systems that we have been touched by, but this brings so much to the mosaic that we call worship. Thank you. Will you be with me in the call to worship? Threads of a tapestry differ in shade and color. Tiles in a mosaic pieced together, each unique in the Creator's eyes. But gathered here with one heart, bound together with ties stronger than cord or family. Bound with our differences and our common cause of justice. Make us into agents of liberating love.
You to rise in body or spirit for the chalice lighting, our opening hymn, and our spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting words come to us from Maureen Killeran. In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement that our values may guide our choices. Let us look first to the response of love. If you please join now in the singing of our opening hymn. This is our hymn of the month, number 131 in the gray hymnal, Love Will Guide Us. the doctrine of this church. The quest for our truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. The young and the young at heart are now invited to come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel.
Well, it doesn't look like there's any younger ones. So it could be just the older ones. So, the theme for my sermon today is about how we are each unique and the importance of maintaining that uniqueness. I brought Play-Doh because I wanted to have an example of how when, we can roll up one color or another, and aren't they beautiful when they're all set out and they each have such incredible value to give to us. But anyone who has ever been around children, or is kind of a child inside, and mushes all the Play-Doh together, you end up with something that is not quite so beautiful. And that's kind of what we do when we bring people together with us, and we feel we're being welcoming. And we want them to come and be a part of what we're doing, but we want them to be like us. And nobody learns from that. Like we all kind of lose in that situation. So it's so important to always encourage everyone to bring their gifts and talents and continue to be who they are, and have us embrace those differences. So let's sing ourselves right back into here. I think we can sing the imaginary children out today. As we leave this friendly place, Lord, give light to every face. May the kindnesses we learn light our hearts till we return.
To remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember we are a part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we will have enough. Each Sunday, we take half of the non-dedicated offering that is received and share it with a local organization whose values and goals reflect our own. This quarter, we are supporting the Native Prairie Association of Texas, a nonprofit land trust dedicated to the conservation, restoration, and appreciation of native prairies, savannas, and other grasslands in Texas. The offering, which we take every Sunday, is an opportunity to dedicate ourselves to the journey that we are making together, with the vision of a world made whole. The Native Prairies Association of Texas fits right into this vision, and will be our Share the Plate partner through the end of March. Today we are also picking up guests at our table boxes, and the ushers will gather those as well during the offering. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward? At this time in our service, we pause to remember and give time and attention to the things in our community that are important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and to acknowledge the shared stories, and news from the congregation. Each week, there is a journal outside the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope before the service. I jumped the gun a little bit and read them earlier, but we will review. We honor these messages by lighting the 3 candles next to us here, next to our chalice. And also, at any time during the service, you are free to come up to our meditation center and light a candle there as well. Today, from our book of Memory and Hope, we'll review that Sherry Husband is in the hospital. She is not doing well. She is not taking visitors. But we are holding on to hope that she will be moved into surgery on Wednesday. If you were at our service at any time this month, you learned that during January, we're doing the Guest at Your Table program, which is the International Social Justice Program of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. One of the beneficiaries of Guest at Your Table is Pacific Islands Students Fighting Climate Change, an organization with a vision to live with dignity and without fear of climate change, denying that freedom. Today, we also have a short video that shows their work, if you would tune in.
Pulavinaka, my name is Vishal Prasad and I am the campaign director of the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. I'm speaking to you today from my island home of Fiji. For us, climate justice is more than just a buzzword. It represents the intersection between climate change and social justice. It recognizes that those who are least responsible for causing climate change are often the ones who bear the heaviest burden of its impacts. It acknowledges that vulnerable communities, marginalized groups, and future generations are disproportionately affected by the consequences of a warming planet. For precisely this reason, we decided to seek the help of the world's highest court to deliver an advisory opinion on climate change and human rights and what are state obligations relating to climate change in a bid to ramp up climate action, but more specifically, climate justice. Back in university, we were always told about the perspective that the Pacific is a small, isolated, vulnerable, and essentially insignificant region. Power under this narrative remained in the hands of the powerful countries, but we chose to disrupt this perspective. A campaign to save our futures, our homes, our lives was necessary, and this meant the Pacific charting a path, journeying to the International Court of Justice despite insurmountable odds. What has been even more promising is the agency of the young people in this campaign, who initially brought this idea up to Pacific leaders. When we reached out to our leaders and continued to build momentum behind our campaign, we realized day by day that youth all over the world are tired of the status quo and are calling for a change. This campaign for an ICJ advisory opinion seeks to do the very same. It is an unconventional, out-of-box idea that succeeded in the UN under the leadership of countries that were traditionally labeled as insignificant, and it was backed by the powerhouse of underestimated young people. Power for us has never been on our side, but this is now beginning to change. Our fight for climate justice also includes the very significant focus on intergenerational equity. We must understand that all that we do will have repercussions on our tomorrow. But what we sometimes fail to understand is who those people would be that would have to deal with these repercussions. Intergenerational equity seeks to put this at the heart of dealing with the climate crisis. And so our actions, and by extension the actions of our leaders and governments, matter. We need to realize that each ordinary person carries immense power and potential, and if we are to leave a better world, one that ensures intergenerational equity, we need to wield this power to help address the climate crisis. Our fight and our campaign continues. We are now preparing for the court submissions in the second phase of the campaign. Our focus is on bringing the voices of the marginalized, those most affected by climate change, and of the youth to the ICJ so that these can inform on the advisory opinion that will be released by the court. On this journey, we are very grateful to the UUSC for joining our family of supporters in helping build youth power and capacity as we move ahead in our campaign. Finally, I would like to make a call for everyone to join our voyage for climate justice. This is no longer just about the Pacific or about the ICJ. It is now about the legacy that we want to leave behind and the desire to not leave a world that is destroyed by parasitic injustices that has brought our planet to its knees today. And most assuredly, this is about the power of the people. Thank you, Vinaka and Dhanyawad.
And hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. Whether the coming days bring us joy or sorrow, may the deep peace and love of this community sustain us. We pause at this time to hold and honor the very personal joys and sorrows of the congregation. Please join us now for a few moments of silent reflection and meditation.
So I've been trying real hard to responsibly meditate. And I find that the place where I am able to do that well is here during this very moment. When I'm trying to do it at home, there are so many distractions. And but here, the music lends itself to that. The people lend themselves to that. And it is so meaningful to me. The first reading this morning is by Annetta Ardelian Kuzma. It's sometimes easy to imagine ourselves separated from others through constructs like ideology, borders, race, gender, age, etc. As global citizens, we have been divided on social media with our posts, opinions, and comments. Emotions have flared at times, and our words have been unkind and judgmental. Recently, our attention has shifted to staying healthy, social distancing, and for many, anxiety due to uncertainty. We are reminded that we are not separate. We are quite connected. We share the same air, the same space, and the same planet. What we choose to do now matters. We are interconnected. Let's choose to unite through acts of kindness with our thoughts, our emotions, our words, our intentions, and our actions. Choose to be an agent of love, light, kindness, and compassion. Our second reading is by an anonymous author. I want us to be more mindful of telling people to just love themselves. Sometimes a person isn't missing self-love. Sometimes they are missing community love. Sometimes they need the love of their village because, in all honesty, we were never meant to go through so much alone. How many Unitarian Universalists does it take to change a light bulb? We choose not to make a statement either in favor or against the need for a light bulb. However, if in your own journey you have found that light bulbs work for you, that is fine. Whether your light is bright, dull, or completely out, you are loved. You can be a light bulb, a turnip bulb, a tulip bulb. You are invited to write a poem or compose a modern dance about your personal relationship with your light bulb and present it next month at our annual Light Bulb Sunday service, in which we will explore a number of light bulb traditions, including incandescent, fluorescent, three-way, long life, and tinted, all of which are equally valid paths to luminescence. Bring the bulb of your choice and a covered dish. In her 2012 sermon titled, "How Many UUs Does It Take to Change a Light Bulb?" Reverend Meg Barnhouse shared this. Question: what do you get when you cross a Unitarian with a Jehovah's Witness? Answer: someone who goes around knocking on doors for no apparent reason. I would have a reason, and I know a lot of you would too. I would want to say, did you know there is a faith community that doesn't believe God would send anyone to hell? That there is a tiny bit of the divine in everyone? That everything is connected? Really, everything is one. And what I call God is the connection between one thing and another. That which connects us all. The one soul of all things. I believe that the Bible has some sacred things in it, and so does the Quran, and the Vedas, and the poetry of Mary Oliver, and the lyrics of Townes Van Zandt. We're here on this earth to learn to love and be loved, and appreciate the earth and the sky and the stars, and try to alleviate suffering when we can, and add to the joy in the world when we can do that. And that you don't have to believe things that don't make sense to you. And that you can believe in God or not. But definitely, you should not believe in a God who doesn't believe in you. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Studio City has this statement on their website. Unitarian Universalists are curious, compassionate thinkers and doers who value thinking for themselves and acting on what they believe. We are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, but aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good. We come from a variety of backgrounds, traditions, and religions. We respect and celebrate our differences and seek not to convert, but to share. We are not a melting pot, but rather a mosaic, and subscribe to no dogma. We are free to hold any belief or non-belief concerning God or judgment. We find expression in our religion by living out our values. People do not have to abandon their faith or traditions to become members or friends of our church. We only ask that they let go of the doctrine of exclusivity. We have radical roots and a history as self-motivated spiritual people. We think for ourselves and recognize that life experience influences our beliefs more than anything. We need not think alike to love alike. Now, two things stand out here. Reverend Barnhouse reminds us that no one holds a patent on the right way to be an agent of love. And the Church of Studio City makes a clear distinction between being a melting pot or being a mosaic. Why are those points important? Because we need not think alike to love alike. In fact, what I've found is that maintaining our distinct differences is precisely what makes us able to love more deeply. Contrary to what I was taught about the beauty of a nation built on the premise of being a melting pot, there is really nothing inherently good about expecting others to assimilate. It removes the richness of diversity that human experience brings and opens wide the door to every kind of ism and phobia humanity can dream up. A mosaic, however, treats our differences as something to be celebrated and respected. We learn to be welcoming and inclusive, love liberationists, as my granddaughter says, when we invite others to bring their true self and welcome the change that creates in us. How many times have you witnessed someone's inability to show up as their true self because of how others may act or react? This past week, I was serving a family recently resettled from Afghanistan. Their agency sponsor, a loud white man somewhere in the vicinity of my age, kept making comments like, "Well, you're in the U.S. now, and we do things different here," and seemed to always answer questions with, "Well, that hasn't been my experience here." I could see the resignation and withdrawal of the family, all of whom sought to just change their behavior and get through this very uncomfortable and humiliating moment. This inability or unwillingness to see beyond our own experience keeps us from being so authentically inclusive and welcoming. I find myself moving those margins daily, and I bet you do too. But I still need to keep reminding myself that I'm not here to change others. Rather, each person I interact with is an opportunity to change me. It's healthy to be reminded that there are people I can learn from, even when I disagree with their words and actions. I'm challenged daily to learn how to live in proximity with and respond to people who think and live incredibly differently than me. I mean, we are in Texas. You know, the border crisis in Texas now has other states pledging assistance to Governor Abbott, who now has a new nickname, the Lone Czar. The Florida governor, with as one journalist wrote, the same detached air he exhibited during his presidential bid, proving that if you do not like people, they are probably not going to like you back. He pledged to send troops to Texas, even though state law prohibits him from doing so. This strengthens my resolve to expose myself to the experiences of others, to continue stretching those margins even when I disagree. I know people right here that are actively learning how to create change for our neighbors to the south. This congregation makes it part of their mission. The woman who was living in a pickup truck with more than 60 chihuahuas was treated with the utmost dignity as a rescue organization trained in these types of situations, transferred the dogs to Rhode Island for care and rehoming, and provided help for her as well. I know people right here that are actively working for our four-legged friends and those who care for them. This congregation makes it part of their mission. Healthcare organizations are being sued for medical records of trans kids to impede the ability of parents to provide gender-affirming care for their own children. And organizations are creating coalitions to provide legal, educational, and mental health resources for these families. I know people right here that are actively working to ensure these families are able to provide that life-saving care. This congregation makes it part of their mission. So, what does any of this back-patting have to do with being a mosaic rather than a melting pot? Being authentically inclusive and bringing our full selves forward? It is true, there are people here who support the work being done to affirm the experience of others, and it is true that this congregation makes these things part of their mission. But have we let that change us? Or have we just allowed the experience of others to kind of blend into this set of affirming principles? Do I know enough about the intersection of mental health and hoarding to have it change how I approach those who have experienced it? Do I know enough about the border crisis to help others understand the experience of those migrating from the South? Do I know enough about trans people to be changed for the better by their experience? Why did the UU cross the road? To support the chicken in its search for its own path. How do we support that chicken? By learning all we can about its journey and allowing that to change us. I doubt there's a person here who didn't grow up on potlucks. And if you were like me, you were able to look at the individual dishes and know exactly who made them. It was a church event that encouraged everyone to bring their best recipe to the table, and that they did. But there was this one person who collected everyone's recipes, researched the history of them, and then came back with an authentic version of the dish. As she would set the dish out on the long table, she would leave a stack of handwritten cards detailing the history of the recipe and the evolution of ingredients used as the recipe journeyed to new locations. Sure, many people found her to be a bit much. But she said, if we were to bring our full self to the table, we had better know who that full self is. It took a lot of years for me to understand that for myself, and even more to apply it to the experience of others. These days, I just don't see how I can help others bring their full self forward without listening to their journey and experiences and allowing that to create change in me. I can't grow, they can't grow. We can't promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person if we only preach a liberating love, but not learn what that means to the person standing in front of us. We are not an amalgamation, but a representation of beliefs and experiences. All People's Church is so fortunate to have an incredibly gifted religious education director who offers so many opportunities to learn about the experiences of others. With guests at your table, Sarah has brought us into the lives of people in other countries, opening our eyes, minds, and hearts to issues we may not have previously known. I'm so grateful for that, to have insight into ways I can provide a more welcoming and inclusive environment for those on a journey different from my own. If we are going to liberate people with our love and principles, then we must not just make space for them. We have to provide a seat at the decision-making table so that their needs and experiences are not lost in the mix. We have an opportunity coming up to learn about the trans journey and how we can create space that asks others to bring their true self and transform us. Trans inclusion in congregations will challenge us to rethink how we live out our principles of being a justice-seeking people. There will be food, too. The potluck table never gets full. You just bring out another table, throw a cloth on it, or not, and bring your full self forward. Reverend Barnhouse ends with this. A visitor to a Unitarian Universalist church sat through the sermon with growing incredulity at the heretical ideas being spouted. After the sermon, a UU asked the visitor, "So how did you like it?" "I can't believe half the things that minister said," sputtered the visitor in outrage. "Oh, good, then you'll fit right in." So I ask you, how many UUs does it take to be a light in the world? All of them. Will you join us as we sing the closing hymn, number 170, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People."
May this flame that has brightened our time together warm our hearts, light our paths, and inspire our vision as we once again go our separate ways.
I want to thank my cousin Marta Keene in Las Vegas, Nevada, for continuously sending me you jokes. I told her that I was going to use them this morning, and she did not believe me. And I said, well, then just watch the service. Because as one of my other friends said, if you can't laugh at yourself, then you're doing something wrong. Go into the world not as like-minded people, but as brightly shining, like-hearted people. Create space for others to be welcomed and authentic. Be a love liberationist. Bring your full self forward and help others do the same. Service has now ended, and we ask that you stay and join us for coffee and conversation in the library.